Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Damira from Group 8 and my group mates are Arifadina, Sumaya and Fatihah. The topic that we're going to discuss is about a boy named Manu, where he has been diagnosed with Thalassemia major at 6 years old and has undergone stem cell transplantation to treat his disease. He is also under immunosuppression therapy for a minimum of 12 months. He is supposed to get his mRNA vaccine when he turns 7, but there are certain problems that we need to look at. Thalassemia is an inherited blood disorder, which means one of the parents must be a carrier for the disease. This disease causes hemoglobin to form irregularly inside our body. This condition will cause an unnecessary loss of red blood cell, which then will lead to anemia. Thalassemia is also induced by the deletion of primary gene fragments or by genetic mutation. According to a study by Srivastava and Shaji, every year there are 50,000 children that are diagnosed with thalassemia. Treatments that are available to treat this disease includes blood transfusion, chelation therapy, and stem cell transplant. In the case of Manu, he is diagnosed with thalassemia major, and the only suitable treatment for him will be stem cell transplantation. Stem cell transplantation is an option for children with severe thalassemia because it will avoid the need for them to undergo blood transfusion and medication to manage iron overload that comes with this treatment. However, with stem cell transplantation, the patient will be given a high load of immunosuppression therapy, which is to avoid rejection. As a result, the patient will become immunocompromised, meaning that the patient will be more vulnerable to various infections due to the loss of their previously acquired immunity. This will also increase the risk of morbidity and mortality among this patient. Thus, according to Manu, he is supposed to get mRNA vaccine when he turns 7, but due to him being immunocompromised, he needs special attention on how he will receive his vaccine. In this video, the purpose and types of mRNA vaccine will be introduced, and based on the understanding of Manu's situation, from the perspective of a medical biotechnologist, few suggestions will be given on how to tackle this issue, and also the risks and chances of the proposed solution will be thoroughly explained by my group mates.
My name is Sumaya and I will tell you why Manu should not take his scheduled DT and MR vaccines while he is undergoing his immunosuppression therapy. Before I dwell into the topic, let us see what DT and MR vaccines are. The DT stands for diphtheria and tetanus, and both are infectious diseases caused by bacteria. MR stands for measles and rubella, and these two are viral diseases that may significantly cause harm to children and adults. To put it simply, both the vaccines are applied to provide strong immunity against these bacterial and viral infections that may result into fever, cough, red rash, and many more harmful symptoms in children and adults. Now, we know that when a child is born, they're supposed to be administered with necessary vaccines following a specific schedule to boost their immunity while growing up. Manu was also supposed to take these two vaccines at the age of 6 years old, just like any other kids. However, since he got diagnosed with thalassemia major and had to undergo hematopoietic stem cell transplantation and immunosuppression for a year, he had to wait until his treatment was done and then be vaccinated with the scheduled MR and DT vaccines. The decision of putting his vaccine schedule on hold while he was going through his treatment was taken because, number one, he's currently immunocompromised, which means his immune system is very weak at the moment. Secondly, the DT and MR vaccines are having live attenuated forms of the antigens in them, so he might not be able to fight the adverse effects of these live vaccine reactions, as it is known that live vaccines are more dangerous for an immunocompromised patient than the killed vaccines. Thirdly, given his heterogeneity, he might not react the same way some other children would if they were vaccinated under similar circumstances, because it might turn out that he is having weaker immune system than expected. Given these scenarios, Manu might not be able to react safely to these vaccines, and his condition might turn out to be worse while he is taking his immunosuppression treatment. Thus, as a medical biotechnologist, it would be highly suggested to vaccinate Manu with the DT and MR vaccines after a specific interval of his completed treatment. Further solution to this case will be proposed by my partner in the next part of the video. Thank you.
Solution: Manu need to get his DT and MR vaccines while under immunosuppressions, so it is important to make a schedule for his vaccinations. Both the DT and MR vaccines work differently on the human body because it is in different types. The MR vaccine is a live virus that has contraindicated responses, which means it can cause harm to the patients. So, it can only be given after 24 months of transplantations. As for the DT vaccine, it is inactive, so it can be administered to the patient at least 6 months after the transplantations. This vaccine also should be taken more than one doses to induce the memory of the immune system toward the embedding pathogens. Immunosuppression therapy has become a challenge to vaccinating patients after transplantations, so scientists suggested the use of adjuvants to induce the patient's antigen-specific immunity so they can be vaccinated even under immunosuppressions. Granulocytes macrophage colony stimulating factor (GM-CSF) is found to be a suitable adjuvant as it triggers macrophages to secrete more interleukins and increase the expressions of class 2 MHC antigen-presenting cells. It also induces inflammations and prolongs the antigen recognition process. Only around this year, California Institute of Regenerative Medicine, CRIM, and scientists had suggested two strategies to avoid prolonged immunosuppressions. First, they suggested to induce the immune tolerance of the donor, and second, they suggested evading the immune responses. The first approach was inducing immune tolerance so the host immune system would not reject the transplanted tissue. It could be achieved by two categories, which are mixed chimerism and immune system reprogramming. Mixed chimerism was done where the donor and recipient blood and immune cells are coexisted. And the second category, which is the immune system reprogramming, aim to reprogram the immune system to tolerate transplanted without immunosuppressions. The second approach was by immune evasions. This is also involved two categories, which first by engineering cells to be incognito, and second by cells encapsulation devices that would envelop the cells from the immune system. However, these methods are still under development.
Now, I am going to talk about the risks and chances of the proposed solutions. The first solution, which is to induce immune tolerance, achieved by mixed chimerism. This method is important for full immunocompetence. However, a study found that there are possibilities of mismatch between MHC molecules that select immature T cells and the ones that present antigens to mature T cell, which can result in relative immune incompetence. Despite that, the chances of this method to avoid immunosuppression are high because the result from preclinical testing shows that it induces immune tolerance and the state of the tolerant was extremely stable and robust. Next, the approach of evading immune response also comes with a risk. Removing HLA antigens from tissue will give more chance to natural killer cells to kill the tissue, which normally they are inhibited to do so to HLA positive tissues. The other method under immune evasion, which is encapsulation device, might be the simplest way to avoid immunosuppression. However, this application has its limitation, which this kind of therapy is more suited for replacement therapies of hormones and enzymes rather than for a large amount of tissues and organs regeneration. These methods, along with other methods that have been proposed, are still under development. Hence, there are not many studies about the risks and implications of these approaches that can be found.
In conclusion, children that are diagnosed with thalassemia major and have undergone stem cell transplantation and also under immune suppression therapy have severely increased their risk of getting infected by vaccine-preventable diseases. Therefore, to immunize immunocompromised patients is a crucial priority. As for Manu, he needs to postpone his MR and DT vaccine during the therapy, which is crucial for his own safety. From the view of a medical biotechnologist, solution that has the potential to tackle this issue is by inducing immune tolerance of the donor and also by evading the immune response. However, these methods also have its chances and risks. Nevertheless, inducing immune tolerance and evading immune response have set the stage towards finding a solution towards the issue being discussed, although it still needs a lot more understanding and improvement before it can be implied in clinical use. This discovery can be beneficial for Manu to avoid any postponed vaccination, and thus he can receive MR and DT vaccine on time according to his schedule.